All right. We'll call the April 15th Apopka City Council meeting to order. We're going to have Joe give us the invocation, the pledge, and the fact of the day.
Let us pray. Kind and gracious Father, we come to you in the name of your Son, Christ Jesus, giving you thanks for your blessings and your grace in the midst of crisis. We thank you, Father, for leaders. We thank you for first responders, for those who put themselves in harm's way in the hospitals, the caregivers. We thank you for families who care for their loved ones. We thank you, Father, for those, Lord, who work and make sacrifices to abate, Lord, the impact of this epidemic that the country and the world is facing. Be with us and strengthen us as a nation and as humanity. Strengthen us here and give us wisdom, I pray. Thank you for our leaders here in Apopka. Bless us. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With the world anxiously watching Apollo 13, a U.S. lunar spacecraft that suffered from a severe malfunction on its journey to the moon, safely returns to Earth. On April 11th, the third manned lunar landing mission was launched from Cape Canaveral, Florida, carrying astronauts James Lovell, John Swigert, and Fred Hayes. The mission was headed for a landing on the Fra Mauro Highlands of the moon. However, 2 days into the mission, disaster struck 200,000 miles from the Earth when oxygen tank number 2 blew up in the spacecraft. Swigert reported to Mission Control on Earth, "Houston, we've had a problem here." And it was discovered that the normal supply of oxygen, electricity, light, and water had been disrupted. The landing mission was aborted, and the astronauts and controllers on Earth scrambled to come up with an emergency procedure. The crippled spacecraft returned to the moon, circled it, and began a long, cold journey back to Earth. The astronauts and Mission Control were faced with enormous logistical problems in stabilizing the spacecraft and its air supply, as well as providing enough energy to the damaged fuel cells to allow successful re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. Navigation was another problem, and Apollo 13's course was repeatedly corrected with dramatic and untested maneuvers. But on April 17th, tragedy turned to triumph as the Apollo 13 astronauts touched down safely in the Pacific Ocean.
Okay, approval, any changes, corrections? Not look for motion to approve.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Nolan, second by Commissioner Benson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Edward, any changes to the agenda?
No, Mayor, there are no changes to the agenda. The only thing I want to point out is that under public hearings, item 1, the applicant has asked for that to be postponed to a date certain of May 20th, 2020. So we'll take that up in that order if that works for you.
And that's under public hearing,
Correct.
postponed to a date certain, or?
Yes, date certain of May 20th, 2020.
Yep, thank you. Okay, we got a couple of proclamations, and just so you know that, obviously they wanted to be here, but we thought in the interest of what we're facing right now, we decided that, told them we'd be on YouTube. If they wanted to look this up, we will be there. If they want to save it for future reference. So we'll start out with the Denim Day proclamation, and I want a big shout out to Louis Demian, the Executive Director of Victim Service Center of Central Florida. This is the second year as in this county commissioner. We really take this serious. I think with the situation we're in now with the economy collapsing, it's even more appropriate that we take a look at this Denim Day and as it relates to supporting our Victim Service Center. So with that, I'll read you the proclamation. Whereas the month of April is National Sexual Assault Awareness Month, calling attention to the fact that sexual assault and harassment is widespread and harms our community. And whereas every 2 minutes, someone in America is sexually assaulted, and approximately 1 in 5 women and 1 in 33 men are raped during their lifetime, and about 75% of harassment victims experience retaliation when they report it. And whereas the Denim Day movement is a worldwide effort that started as a grassroots protest against a controversial Italian Supreme Court decision in which a sexual assault conviction was overturned because the victim was wearing tight jeans at the time of the attack. And whereas Denim Day encourages everyone to stand in solidarity with survivors of sexual harassment, sexual violence, and speak up when they hear comments that blame victims or make light of sexual harassment and assault. And whereas together we can change how we think and talk about the issue, we can create a culture of respect, equality, and safety for our citizens. And whereas with proper education on the matter, as well as comprehensive prevention projects, sexual violence and its traumatizing effects are preventable. And whereas the City of Apopka strongly supports the Victim Service Center of Central Florida and its efforts to heal victims, educate and train the community, and stop sexual violence before it starts. Now therefore, I, Brian Nelson, the Mayor of the City of Apopka, Florida, do hereby proclaim Wednesday, April 29, 2020 as Denim Day. So thank you, Louis, for what you do for our community. Next up, we have the Water Conservation Proclamation. Susan Davis from the Intergovernmental Coordinator for the St. Johns River Water Management District also would have been here in these circumstances. So I'm going to read the water proclamation as well. Whereas water is a basic and essential need of every living creature, and whereas the state of Florida, the water management districts, and the city of Apopka are working together to increase awareness about the importance of water conservation, and whereas the city of Apopka and the state of Florida have designated April, typically a dry month, when water demands are most acute, as Florida's Water Conservation Month, to educate citizens about how they can help save Florida's precious water resources. And whereas Apopka has a robust reclaimed water program, and whereas Apopka has always encouraged and supported water conservation through various educational programs and special events, and whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can make a difference when it comes to water conservation, and whereas every business, industry, school, and citizen can help by saving water and thus promote a healthy economy and community. Now therefore, I, Brian Nelson, Mayor of Apopka, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Water Conservation Month. So those are the two proclamations, which we'll get those to the interested parties at a later date. Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on matters that are outside the agenda? Okay, seeing none. Let's see, we'll go up to the consent agenda. Anybody, well, only one item on there, just the check registry. I'd like a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Motion approved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nolan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Rob, are you doing the tower, or is it Edward? Rob? Okay.
Mayor, Commissioners, Robert Hippler, Information Technology Department. This change order for Motorola deals with the communications tower that's being built off of Mount Plymouth Road. The initial design for this tower was set up for a 80% ratio for the guy wire anchors to the tower height. So that would have put it at 240 feet from the base of the tower. The parcel that the property that we're actually putting the tower on, because of its shape, they're having to pull the guy wires in a little bit. And in doing so, they have to strengthen the tower itself using stronger steel, as well as thicker guy wires. So now they're going to be running at a 65% ratio, which will put it 190 feet or 195 feet from the base of the tower. The change order is just over $23,000, and again, that's for their police and fire communications tower.
Any questions for Rob?
And that was just because it's a smaller,
It's a right angle parcel, and up front of it, there's not enough room to go and actually put it outside of the property boundary. So they've had to actually pull it back in to keep it within the actual boundary itself. The self-support tower was a little more costly to actually put in that area. So the initial design was a guide tower but it was set at a 240-foot distance from the base of the tower.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion from the council.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankston, a second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, Edward, are you doing the piggyback?
Mayor, Commissioners, item number 2 under business is related to awarding a piggyback contract to ISI Water Company, doing business as Water Company of America. As you know, we're currently, our consultant is currently working on our rate study, our utility rate study. And as we move through that study, we were trying to make sure that we cover everything so that when the study is completed, we've covered all of our bases. One of the things staff has looked at is the making sure that the ratepayers, that there's equity amongst the ratepayers. And so staff feels that this piggyback will allow us to do that. What this is before you is there's a consultant's contract that was formally solicited and awarded under Polk County to ISO Water Company. Which has been to locate services to assist the utility in utility revenue enhancements. So the scope of the contract would provide an analysis to correct any water, wastewater, or reclaimed water system underbillings or overbillings, or misbillings for that matter. The analysis is the intent of improving accountability and making sure that we have ratepayer equity, thereby could provide for an increase in revenue, depending on what's found. Services are provided on an as-needed basis, and they will be duly authorized by work orders and outlined with the scope of work, a project schedule, and then it has if there's liquidated damages, and a completion date. Compensation will be based on there are two methods. There's a fixed 60% of all increased revenue that's found that will not exceed 36 months, or a lump sum amount that is agreed upon by both parties to be paid in lieu of this 36-month, 60% for 36 months. So we will look at each scope as we move through it to make sure that we have picked the best option for the city. The effective Polk County contract began in 2017, and it's good until 2021. Their formal solicitation for these services and contracts have been vetted by both our procurement and our legal teams, and if you approve this piggyback agreement, we will issue it to ISO Water Company, doing business as Water Company of America, with the underlying or if we need to define any clarifications as needed. So I want to point out that the services will be on an as-needed basis, and we will come back to you if they find revenues. They don't get paid unless they find us some revenue, if they find our revenues. So we'll come back to you with an adjustment for their portion if they come back and find that there's some revenues that we are missing. So we'll come back on adjustment if you approve this piggyback. So staff's recommendation is to approve the piggyback from Polk County, the contract with ISO Water Company, doing business as Water Company of America. I have a short presentation that ISI has given us. I want to go through that. It's really, really quick to show you that, and then I can answer any questions that you have after that. I've also given you a sheet that some of the municipalities and counties that they've done work for, and some of the revenues that they have found for those jurisdictions.
Headquartered in Houston, Water Company of America has served public agencies since 1989. We provide a unique program for revenue recovery through the meticulous evaluation of an entity's utility billing system to find lost revenue. Water Company of America's sole focus is to provide a program for the recovery for lost revenues for public utilities around the country. With an established track record, we stand ready to provide this specialized service to your utility. We provide a full service evaluation of your billing records, to determine if there are water, wastewater, stormwater, or other accounts that are not being billed accurately. The tools and techniques that set us apart include proprietary software for data analysis, experienced field crews for on-site investigation, and state-of-the-art flow testing technologies. We're paid on a performance-based contract, meaning that we only are compensated if we are successful in finding lost revenue, and only once that revenue is collected by the utility. With this approach, the utility does not have to take on the risk of paying us large fees if it turns out that few billing deficiencies are found as a result of the program. There are many benefits of working with Water Company of America, like we work on a performance-based contract, delivering revenue enhancements to the utility while we bear the risk. We improve ratepayer equity among all users, and we provide immediate increased revenue on current services. Since 2011, we've increased the annual revenue for the city of Gulfport, Mississippi by $1.4 million. Since 2007, we've increased the annual revenue for the city of Jackson, Mississippi by $1.5 million. Since 2005, we've increased the annual revenue for Salt Lake City by $1 million. Since 2006, we've increased the annual revenue for the city of Sanford, Florida by $653,000. Any utility would be foolish not to take advantage of the service. It's clearly a win-win. These people didn't cost us money. They made us money. I am surprised that all utilities are not required to contract. This is a best management practice, plain and simple. Thank you for your time. We at Water Company of America are proud of the service we offer. Our sole focus is to provide you with a program for the recovery of lost revenues. We stand ready to serve you and your utility.
So with that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions?
Yeah, a few. So when you just do the numbers itself, right? I mean, I'm just using Jackson, Mississippi as an example, 1.5 million. 60% of that, on an annualized basis, it's 900,000 a year. And I'm just struggling assigning that value with the scope of work that they would be doing, because it says proprietary software, but is that software that we're using in-house, or they use that themselves? Because it seems like it would be, we're providing billing information from us. They kind of run it through their systems, and they're going to provide some analysis and feedback to us, but that seems to be more of a one-time or maybe 6-month to a 12-month long affair, not three years. I'm just wondering why it takes so long.
Right. I think, well, what they do is they have the proprietary software. So, right, we give them our data. They do all of their analysis. They can come back and tell us if we're not billing certain customers, if we're billing them incorrectly, if the flows aren't correct in our billings through our meters. So they do all of that analysis, and then they come back to you. So what they do is they will collect 60% of that revenue for that 3-year period, and then they're done. So after that 3-year period, we get all the revenue. So we don't have to give them any percentage of that revenue. Or we can do the fixed-based. If when we sit down and review this and we give them the scope of work of what we're going to do, we'll look at one, and we're definitely going to take the one that's best for the city.
Yeah, so there's 2 concerns on that front. First off is, we say 3 years, but a lot of these cities on here, like Orlando had a 5-year one, and now they're doing another engagement. And a lot of these are multi-year efforts. Winter Park did it for 10 years. Why are they engaged so long during that process? I would think that you would get your house in order and then make sure that it's in order going forward.
And I would agree with you, Commissioner. I think this is something we haven't had done. I think, and granted, if they come in and they look at everything and there's nothing, they say we're billing everything right, we haven't missed anybody, the flows are good, everything's great, that would be great. That would mean that, nothing has slipped through or we haven't had any issues. But I'm with you, and I think once they come through and they do this analysis, we can learn from that. If there are some issues, we can learn from that of how to improve our process so that we don't have things that slip through the cracks.
Yeah,
And maybe we don't. Maybe we don't have now.
Yeah, because on the two options that we have on the packet for this piece of business, I mean, obviously one is 36-month, we pay them a certain percentage. Second is more the statement of work concept. But really looking at the voluminous nature of their relationships with other cities, you'd almost have to do like a master statement of work and not, because you look at Hollywood, they had 2,126 work orders. How do I interpret that? That wouldn't be, we would have to price each one of those engagements, right? We would have some master statement of work.
I think are you looking at total number of accounts?
No,
you
the
looking at
column
work
called
orders?
approved work orders.
Oh, I see what you're saying, yeah. So but see, the work orders are based on, if we decide in the scope of work, if we decide we want them to do something more than just look at those accounts that they aren't billing or the flows or whatever, each one of those would be different work orders that we could give them over that 5-year period. I'm looking at, from my standpoint, this approach is, here's our accounts, look at all of our accounts and find out where some things may have slipped through the cracks, or we may have some overbillings, underbillings, misbillings. Let us get things in order, and then let us learn from that. If for some reason there's a problem somewhere and the utility system, the billing system's not updated correctly or has an issue, we can learn from that, fix that, and then going forward, we shouldn't have to have
Right.
a lot of work orders.
Yeah, because I mean, in terms of do we have an estimate on our side in terms of what we think that bogey looks like in terms of missed revenue?
No, I stand here before you today and say, I hope it comes back and it says, that you're billing everything, but maybe a small amount. I mean, because the way our billing system works is when new development comes on and they set the meter, the community development talks to utility billing, they put the account into the system. But, so I stand here today and say, I hope they come back and they say, hey, we didn't find anything. You're billing everybody correctly. But
I mean,
but when you look at these
yeah.
others, and, some of these utilities I look at that I would compare it to, I think do a pretty good job. So it kind of surprises me that some of them have some big amounts of revenue that they're looking at, so.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see on paper what the relationship looks like with each municipality. What I would get at is if we don't know what our kind of estimated value is from our side of what we're trying to accomplish, it kind of throws the value-based pricing model of this business kind of out the door for me. Like if, obviously they're doing good work. They have a lot of relationships with these cities. I would much rather go the statement of work route, really kind of build a box around our expectations of what we want them to do, and then go from there.
Okay.
Because 60% seems high when we don't know what that's even going to look like.
Right.
Yeah, but I think they're putting a lot of effort in, so they're just they're stretching out their payments, but they're putting all their work probably within 120 to 150 days, but they can't get it all back that fast, so they're just spreading out their take so that they don't take it all up the first year. I mean, I think wouldn't that be a fair?
I would agree with that, Mayor. I think the good thing about this is if they find if they find additional revenues, it's great. We have, we have that ratepayer equity between everybody. If we've missed somebody, overcharged somebody, have an issue. So I think that's a good point that comes out of it. And I think we'll find they only get paid if they find additional revenues. So if they don't find anything, then, we're doing a good job. We've got everybody accounted for and we're billing everybody. So, the way we should be. But we have about 28,000 accounts and.
Yeah, and I get that. I just, the cost I don't know that you would be able to look me in the face and justify a $1.7 million. So that's $1.7 million in revenue that they would get just using Sanford as an example. And telling me that their cost is going to be anywhere where it's going to be punitive from a margin position on their side. I don't see the actual cost to do an exercise like this where it would justify getting 60% of the revenue take.
Well, they have all the tools to do it, and it'll take they're going to have staff. It's going to have to go out and review check all the meters, check all the properties, make sure that things, are there things, Bill, that maybe don't have a meter that we just don't know about? That could be a possibility too. So I think they have a lot of work to do because we'll just provide our data, and they'll have to go out and do all the work and find the revenue. If they find it, great. If they don't find it, then, we've done a good job, and everybody's paying their their fair share.
Well, Edward, tell them about, just in the little bit of work we've been doing on the stormwater, what we've found, so, just to.
Yeah, and that, on the stormwater side, when we were reviewing the stormwater this past fiscal year, we found that we had several customers that were not being billed stormwater assessment fee, because they had slipped through the cracks. We weren't updating our GIS map, we weren't updating our stuff as properties were coming on. And so if we don't send that information to the tax collector, they don't collect it. We tell them what to collect and they collect it. And so we found, and I think we were around right at 35 or 40,000 additional dollars in stormwater fees that we weren't billing because they weren't on our map as being parcels that had come into the city. So, so I think this is a good practice, because they have the tools to do it. And I will share one other thing, Commissioner. This is the second contract. We went through all the piggybacks out there to get the best one. This was the best one. There was one where it was 45%, but it went for 5 years. So we did all the numbers and we, kind of did some scenarios that, hey, we'll take the 60 if this is something you want to do. We'd prefer to do the 60 over 3 years, because then we're done after that third year. All the revenue's ours, and it comes out better for the city that way. So, and I can tell you, when we do this scope of work and we give them this, when they sit down and do the scope of work, we're going to look at both options. What's the best option for the city? Is it better for us to do a lump sum? We're going to pay you and we'll do it that way, or are we going to do for each one of those scopes of work, are we going to do the 60% over the 3 years? Because I'll tell you what I envision. I envision that they come in, they go through all of our accounts. It's probably going to take a little while for them to get through everything because of the way the city's spread out. Go through all of our accounts, come back and say, here's X dollar of revenue that you weren't billing, you need to bill. And they'll take their portion, their 60%, that 3-year period. After that 3-year period, all of the revenue is ours. We've got all of our accounts up to date. Everything's current. And we have learned from this process. Is there something we maybe can learn from this process to make sure that things like this don't happen if we have these errors?
So I had the same questions, and with the potential shortfall, especially this year with everything that we've gone through, obviously performance-based billing puts the risk on them and not on us. That's a plus in that sense. But my question is, what can they do that we can't do? If you've already found some of those things, is it a matter of not having the time and manpower? And if that's the case, if we have, your point, if we don't have any idea where maybe we're doing everything right, we would spend a lot less to do that in-house. If we have the ability to find it, we just need to, with 60% revenue, we could pay someone in-house to do it and get a lot more of that revenue back. But if we have no idea whether that's a potential, then that could be something out of pocket. And again, with this year, that makes it a little bit more risk on us.
Exactly.
So do they, and he asked the same thing, is this a proprietary program that only they have and we can't figure out?
Yes.
So even though you found some, they're more likely to find things that we just can't find.
We haven't found any software to do this. Could we do this in-house? Yeah, I think it would take, depending on the revenue number they find, I think it would cost us more to do it in-house, to assign the people to do this. And then we've got to figure out, how do we do it? What kind of software do we use? How do we figure it out to figure out all of those combinations? We've got 28,000 accounts you've got to go through. Plus, they're not only going through that, they're going parcel to parcel. They're looking for everything that might be missing. You have a water line out here and this person's not connected. You need to get them connected. We wouldn't be able to, with our staff or whatever, it would take us a lot longer to go through this process. So, and I think what I think is critical is, and what we're trying to do is, we're getting ready to have the rate study. We're putting all the information together for the rate study, and I think it's very important that we have all the parts and pieces. We have every account, every customer, everything billed correctly before we set those rates that affect everybody. And I think this is just one way to make sure that all accounts are included and everybody is paying their share.
I guess my point, 60% of 1.5 million would more than pay for us to hire someone full-time to focus on that, get that software. But if we don't know that's the risk, you got Dunedin, they got $833. So if we don't know that and we're under the gun here with our budget shortfall,
I'd rather put the risk on them than on
Yep.
us.
Yeah.
I'd give them, I'd rather have them, even with the fixed cost, I'd rather have them, because the more they're incentivized, the harder they're gonna,
Right.
turn over every rock and try to find every dollar for us. So personally, I think giving them the 60% for the 3 years, I know it was neat because they, our finance staff had come back and told us that there were 2 contracts we could have piggybacked. One was the 45 for 5 years, which is a lot more than the 60 for 3. So, and this is, for us, the way I look at it, it's found money that we've got zero risk if we pay them the 60%. So they're going to work hard for us to get, obviously, they're incentivized to find every dollar possible.
Now, our intention is just to go through that term period, not to continue after that, correct?
Correct.
Correct. We'll do,
Okay.
yes, correct.
So like, now, another thing, like, so let's say we go through this period, and then it's, like 10 years down the road, I mean, is this something that we're looking at doing consistently? Like, that maybe we should have looked at, every so often? Does that make sense?
I think you do this, if you do this and you figure out where you should, if we're missing some accounts or revenues, we should be able to learn from that. How did they slip through? How did they get to where they are? We can make sure that our staff is trained, and we can make sure that we going forward, if our process and somewhere in our process, we can improve it to make sure things like this don't happen. I don't think you have to do it that often. I don't think you have to do it. I think we haven't ever done it, and I think it's important to do it because we have had some, I will be honest with you, we have had some accounts where we found a meter and it's like, we haven't been building this meter for 10 years. And it's, we found it, but is there another one that we may not know about? So, this allows us, they'll give us that data too that allow us, to have a map and have all of our system, have all of our stuff in our, in our accounts, clean our accounts up and make sure that we have everything in our accounts.
Now, another question is that, when we do this, are they going to be teaching us how they're doing this? Is this something like, hey, you missed these like 10 houses, this is how you can fix it for the next time? Are they kind of giving us that?
No, they won't give us that, but what they will give us is when we see the counts that we're missing or we see things that aren't billed correctly, we'll be able to go back and say, now how did that happen? How did this customer's billing turn out this way versus this customer? How did we miss this meter altogether? How did we miss this meter, right? And then we'll be able to make sure, is there something in our process that we can improve, check off, sign off to make sure that this doesn't happen?
So
Forensic logic
Well, yeah,
will
you
lead
could
us to
have.
that,
Correct.
so we won't need whatever software they have now.
Right.
By the time we've
I
gone
mean,
through
you could
this
have
process.
some where we've never built them, which that's a real possibility. And we could have some that somehow something changed, a new owner bought the property and we lost that data. So, I mean, there's all kind of ways we could have missing revenue from meters that we're not reading.
Well, and keep in mind, we converted software too, not too long ago. I think in 2015 or 16, we converted to a new software system. And did we convert everything correctly? I know we've had some problems matching between the two softwares. So that, that could let us know when we did that conversion, did we pick up everything correctly? Is our process when a developer comes to community development and puts in their meter, the developer puts in the meter and everything, are we making sure that every one of those is getting set up in the billing system and utility billing? So this will let us know that we're doing that. Granted, I hope it comes back and I hope it says, Apopka, we only found $50,000 because you've done a good job, you've got all your meters accounted for, everybody's billed correctly, and all 29,000 accounts look really, really good, and they didn't get anything. They don't get much at all, and we know that we're billing people equally.
So another question I have is that, and I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I fully understand this, like really simplify it here. So they're coming in, they have a software, they're going out to these properties probably,
They could visit some,
So will they come to us, are they going to tell us, well, you're missing this one altogether? They're coming to us to be like, hey, you're missing this, it's because the reader's not reading? Or will they tell us why we're missing it, almost in that sense?
They will tell you if you're missing, if you don't have a meter at all, they'll tell you there's not a meter on this property, and there should be. They'll tell you that, hey, you're billing this customer incorrectly based on your tiers or residential, commercial, whatever. They'll tell us all of that information because that's how they earn their money. They'll tell us that because those are revenues that they're going to be, any revenue that comes out of those changes that we make. And again, the agreement is if we make those changes and we receive that when we receive that additional revenue, they get their percentage. If we don't make those changes, they don't get that revenue. So, and keep in mind, they do allow, the agreement also does allow us to exclude, if we have special contracts or agreements, which we have a few, they won't Those, they don't get any money off of those counts. This is only on our residential and commercial customers that are billed through our billing rates, not our contract customers.
Okay. So, I mean, how I'm seeing this is, it could be, a revenue side, but then, I mean, they're also finding everything that's wrong that's probably gonna cost us money too. So, like, what is that number in the midst of all this? Like, is that being reported? Like, yeah, let's say for Orlando, they made so much money, but, all right, I guess Atlanta's have it. So St. Augustine made $116,000, right? So how much of that was to pay for fixing things and stuff like, what are we actually making in the end? I guess is what I'm trying to figure out. Like, how, are we really actually making anything in it, or will it be cheaper for us to take the risk on?
We won't know until we see those revenues. Then we'll know, so if they come
But
back and
could
they
we
say,
see from other cities? Is this something other cities may track?
you can't really compare other cities because a lot of it has to do with, is your utility systems, your billing system accurate? Have you done all of your processes, all of your procedures and everything correctly to make sure that you have every account, every customer, water, reclaim, wastewater, every account is being billed correctly? And so it all depends on the process and how you update that system from
I
each
think you can get
jurisdiction.
an
That's why you see
average,
different
though, when-
amounts for different jurisdictions.
I mean, I think you would get an average though, like, these people who are making, $1 million off of it, and these were their issues and stuff like you can get an idea of like what that average percentage is like my thought process. When I, did some research on this, I, looked at other companies that were similar to this from the little knowledge I have of it. And, I did find all of them doing stuff a little bit different, but this company seemed, well, it had great reviews, but I guess it's either we take the chance or not,
Yeah, I guess for me, the fact that we are facing such budget shortfall this year, anything that we can do to bring revenue in, it's not a loss, it's a gain. It's just 60% is a bitter pill. But if it also keeps that off of the staff's back, we're gonna have a lot of work to do to get caught up and restart economically. So at that point, I think it still takes the risk off of our city, and it gives us a perpetual income going forward. And if we gain the knowledge out of it, that's the biggest thing for me. If we can gain the knowledge how we can do this going ahead, then I think it puts us in a good position, and I'm open to that.
And I guess my question is, that if I understand it correctly, that they don't get paid until we actually receive those additional dollars from whatever they find that we're missing.
Correct.
All right, and so that means that they'll get 60, we get 40 for those 3 years, and after that, we get the full 100%. So we're going to be making a gain in the budget by doing that, just more after the 3 years as opposed to first year. And I'm going to assume things like when we annex property in, because we charge customers in the county more than we charge the ones in the city, that doesn't get switched over, that could be a problem as well?
Sure. We could be missing some of those as well. And Commissioner, let me correct you on that. We used to charge a surcharge. But when we did the JPA, when we brought in the JPA and brought the county customers into the city customers,
Right.
we agreed not to charge them anymore. So in that agreement, if you're in our utility service center, everybody pays the same rate.
Supposedly.
That is correct.
So that's something that this study could determine?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, again, I look at it in the sense, the lost revenue is in fact an expense to the city, especially on the out years, because we're encumbering that revenue for the second year and the third year to that company, that we could realize the 100% much quicker. And all the leading indicators would suggest that we are going to find dollars, right? We had the water loss or the water shortage, or unaccounted for water, what was that, 2 years ago,
Yes.
which was significant. We had the meter issues, which was significant. Every time we talk about the billing system, we talk about how it's challenging, so that's significant. So I fully expect there to be some sizable gains to be realized here. But I want to make sure that the assumption that Commissioner Smith made is correct, though, because in consultancy, especially if they do have proprietary software, to your point, they're going to extract data out of our billing system. They're going to consume it into whatever analysis that they do. They probably have some analytics tools or automation tools, whatever the case may be. They're going to spit out their findings or whatever. But unless we change our processes here on the staff level on the billing side, after year 3, that it's going to get out of whack again, and we're going to need, case in point, we see examples of that on this list of sheets. Have we explored contractors at all? You know, because that, it takes the burden of having full-time staff and benefits and all that sort of stuff versus finding contractors to do this sort of work.
No, we have not. I mean, that's something you could do. The problem, I think what your issue you'll face with that is you're going to pay the contractor whether they find something or not. You know, so you're going to have some upfront costs, and you may not get any revenues, or if you do get revenues, you know, that you've got that issue too. So,
But that risk is diminished for me because of what I just described. We have all those leading indicators that would suggest that there's stuff to find, right? Are there contractors out there that have experience with our billing system? I'm sure there are. With contractors, you can have a finite initial period. If that does not bear any fruit, then you cut your losses and you do something else. But my biggest hangup is not with the company. It's not with the work that it's intended to be done. It's this 60% rev share. That's just, in my experience, I've never seen that.
it's big, but I think the reason it's big is because they have to touch every meter, every account. They have to go out and look on properties and check properties. They're going to have to check flows. They're going to check every billing customer account in the billing system from the actual calculation of the system in the billing system. They're going to check parcels. They're going to go parcel by parcel. The biggest issue, best thing I think that this does is, if they find something, they get paid. If they don't, they don't. So, and we can learn a lot from this, you know. I'm hoping they don't find much. I really, you know, having worked and been over utility billing, I hope they come in and they say, you've done a good job. You know, we didn't find much, and here you go. So, but I do know that, as you see across jurisdictions, this is an issue for a lot of places because of the process, how things are collected in one department, they have to be communicated to another department, they have to be entered into the system. And then you have a lot of development going when you're busy, and you have a lot of development going on. Meters get put in, but sometimes don't get recorded because it's temporary. They're working, and things are moving along to keep the development going, and they might slip through. So I think this will show us a picture of where we are and how our process works. I agree with you. It's a big percentage, but I think if they find something, they get something. If they don't find anything, they don't get anything. I think that's a good approach. I think if you did it in-house, you're going to have several staff. I think it's going to take, you know, several people to do this. And of course, that would take away some of our other processes, so we'd have to, you know, from the things that they do. So I think, you know, all in all, I think this is a good approach. They do have the proprietary software. They are going to have to put a lot of labor into it to find all of the stuff, you know, if there is things out there. So it's a lot of work, I think, for them. And like I said, we were looking for the best approach, and that 60 over 3 years was much better than 45 over 5. And so, and this is one of the best companies at finding that and those lost revenues.
And the last point, I mean, and again, you've brought the point up a couple times of we hope that they don't find anything or they may not find anything. So why would we commit to a 3-year period if up front we may not even find anything?
And here's the thing. Well, I think that's part of their contract. So you're going to send them out there to do all of the work, and if they find 50,000 or whatever, then they're going to want their 60% over that 3-year period, because that's how they make their money to do the job. So, I mean, it's, you know, I think this is the right approach. It is a little costly, but I mean, if you hired a consultant, you'd have that cost, or if you hired additional staff in-house to do it. Do we have the software to do it? No, we don't have the right software to make sure that we can find everything, and I think it would take quite a while to go through all of our accounts in that form or fashion. We're also trying to get ready for the rate study, so will it delay that? Will it, budget-wise, you know, we're trying to put budgets together now, so, and staff's working really, really hard on their budgets with everything that we're facing.
Well, I think that if we had staff already that had expertise to do this, we wouldn't need to do it. We wouldn't be in the situation we are. So I don't think we have the staff that has the expertise to do it. And I understand the 60% because they're putting a lot of risk out front, and they're putting out a lot of dollars out front because they got to pay labor, manpower, and use of equipment before they even collect the dime. So I understand that part, but my other part is that I want to make sure that we have somebody on our side that's tracking when they say they found something and that there's an increase in that revenue, that we have somebody on our side that's verifying what they say they found.
Absolutely, and Commissioner, absolutely, we will do that.
Okay.
And we will bring that back to you, because that's good information. That lets us know, how did we do? So we will bring this back to you. Like I said, we're going to bring it back to you anyway to do a budget adjustment. We have to do adjustment to pay them. So currently, if they've got to come back to us and say, this is your revenue, before we even pay them or make any kind of an adjustment. So we will be back, yes, absolutely. When they find it, we'll be back, and we'll make, if we've got things that we can improve our process, we will bring those recommendations back to you and make those changes as well. So yeah, you'll see this number before they're paid.
Edward, could you just do me a favor and reach out to them and just find out how many of these contracts they've done that are just on a flat rate, and just so.
Yeah, we can do that and get that information
Commissioner-
too.
Yeah,
That
and maybe,
would be
maybe
good
it's
to
my
know.
own confusion here, right? And Commissioner Smith's comment just kind of piqued my interest a little bit. So, I mean, how much are they involved? Like, tell me the scope of work, because it wasn't clear in the packet. So, when this engagement starts, you have 36-month period. Are they
No,
super?
they'll be long gone. Yeah, they're done in
Right, that's
120
fine.
days.
Okay, that's fine, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's our plan. We hope, if they get in here and find they have issues or error, or, they need more time to dig around and work or whatever, we'll give them that time. I anticipate they'll be done before the end of this year with everything, and come back with us with some numbers and everything, and then we'll have an amount, and that'll be the amount that we will establish that they're 60% off of for the 3 years. And then if we want them to come back, fine. If we don't, then we change our process, we don't need you to come back.
And then, I mean, is it boots on the ground type of work?
Yes.
Or is,
Both.
so
I think
what's
do
that
both.
workload
Yeah,
look
is
like?
that 26,000 meters they're checking, or is that?
So, yeah, here's
just
what
the
they say. They get our data. So they're going to get our data. They're going to compare it to parcel data from the Orange County Property Appraiser. They're going to compare all of that data, all the billing, all the accounts, commercial, the size of the meters, all of that information through, I'm assuming, through their software. Then they also will come and visit those areas that they think or feel that we should be billing or should have a meter that doesn't have a meter. Or they're also going to be looking at all of our water lines where they are to make sure you've got a water line out here, and if there are any customers connected out here to the water line. They also look for direct connects where, and we've had this before, where someone will dig in and just run a line to our line, and we never know it and never have a meter on it. So they're going to put boots on the ground to look for those things. So, and we've had some of those. I will tell you, we've had some of those in the past. We've also had some covered up meters in the past. We've had some meters where we've had development put in. The meter gets covered up during construction, and we never know it's there. So, they will be out, boots on the ground, a lot. So they're telling us that they will, depending on once they look at all of our data and see if there's areas where we might have meters that we are not billing or that need to be checked, they will be verifying those as well.
Any other questions? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, look for a motion to approve the piggyback contract award to ISI Water Company.
And we're not deciding.
And we're not deciding like which way we're going, are we?
Correct.
Yeah, so give me some comfort there, because again, the work,
The
the scope of
piggyback has
work,
both.
the scope of work is okay. We will have opportunity to discuss and debate
Yeah.
how it would
How
be
we get
paid
paid.
for
Yeah.
at a later
Absolutely.
date.
We'll bring that back to you, and we can, and I will promise you, as a ex-finance director, and dollars mean a lot to me, I will promise you that when I look at it, I'm going to want what's the best for the city. That's how I'm going to want to approach it. So we'll bring it to you.
I'll make a motion.
Motion
I'll
by
second.
Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Becker. All those in favor?
It was
Aye.
second, it was
Smith, I'm sorry.
Smith, yeah.
Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, Susie, you want to come up and read ordinance number 2756? Oh, wow. Rob, you guys are getting sophisticated here on us.
Ordinance number 2756. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from County A1 CIP to City Plan Development PD for certain real property located at 1506 Rock Springs Road, comprising 3.99 acres more or less, and owned by Mary F. Reed Estate. providing for directions to the Community Development Director, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
Okay. Heard the motion.
Postpone, yeah.
Yeah, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, look for a motion to postpone ordinance number 2756 to a date certain of May 20, 2020.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Nolan. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2757.
Okay, ordinance number 2757. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from T Transitional District to PR Parks and Recreation District for certain real property located north of Lust Road and west of State Road 429, comprising 69.5 acres, more or less, and owned by the City of Apopka, providing for severability and for an effective date.
Okay, David, any changes to the ordinance? No, sir. Okay, no changes to ordinance number 2757. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2757.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nolan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2759.
Ordinance number 2759. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from industrial to mixed use for certain real property generally located at 2610 Peterson Road, owned by PMDW Ventures LLC, comprising 3.37 acres more or less, providing for severability and an effective date.
Okay. David? No changes? Okay. All right. Applicant, good. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion from the council
So
to
moved.
approve ordinance number 2759. Got a motion by Commissioner Nolan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bankson. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2760.
Okay, ordinance number 2760. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, changing the zoning from CC Community Commercial and IL Light Industrial Districts to MUESGT Mixed Use East Shore Gateway District for certain real property located at 2600 and 2610 Peterson Road, comprising 41.4 acres more or less, and owned by PMDW Ventures LLC, providing for directions to the Community Development Director, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
David, any changes to ordinance number 2760? No, sir. Thank you. Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? If not, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2760.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2761.
Okay, ordinance number 2761. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, to extend its territorial and municipal limits to annex pursuant to Florida Statute 171.044, the hereinafter described land situated and being in Orange County, Florida, owned by Collier Bench Land Joint Venture LLC, located north of Dewberry Avenue and east of Hermit Smith Road, providing for directions to the city clerk, severability, conflicts, and an effective date.
David, any changes? Okay. Anybody from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public hearing and look for a motion to adopt ordinance number 2761.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Nolan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next up, ordinance number 2742.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I have one. Oh, I'll go ahead and do that. I'm sorry. Ordinance number 2742. An ordinance of the City of Apopka, Florida, amending the future land use element of the Apopka Comprehensive Plan of the City of Apopka, changing the future land use designation from county rural and county industrial to city industrial for certain real property generally located west of North Orange Blossom Trail and north of Hogshead Road, owned by American Sanford 4 LLC, Stephen R. Rubright, JP Holdings, Inc., Rubright Properties LLC, Rubright Family LP, JP Holdings, Inc., and James Scott Pridgeon, Douglas and Lisa Surratt, and James P. Purdy, comprising 349.37 acres more or less, providing for severability and for an effective date.
Thank you, Susan. David?
David Moon, Plan Manager, Community Development Department. This case or site is familiar to City Council. Back in December of 2019, the council reviewed an application to amend the future land use designation for this property to a new future land use district called the North Shore District. After discussions with affected property owners and staff, the applicant chose to amend the application and apply for an industrial future land use designation. Because of the request, it was considered a new application, and the hearing process started anew with the Planning Commission holding an advertised hearing last evening. This application is for a large-scale amendment, which requires, if accepted by City Council, transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity and other state agencies. The subject site accommodates approximately 350 acres located to the west of US 441, to the east of the Lake Apopka Restoration Area, lands owned by the Water Management District. The first application that appeared before City Council December of last year accommodated a larger area. You'll see that lands to the south are primarily owned by a company called Alterna Mortgage. They no longer are part of the application, and they don't need to be because they already have industrial zoning and land use that is allowed on that property. On the right side, you'll see the new application and the 350 acres that are under the request for a industrial future land use designation. In terms of staff review, it was determined by DRC that the request is compatible with the surrounding area. This map shows you abutting future land use designations in the city and the zoning categories, but in general, the surrounding area has industrial land uses and zoning, predominantly to the south, going down to the Hogshead Road area up to the Alterna Mortgage site. We have the Orlando Apopka area abutting to the east, as well as a regional freight line owned by CSX and Florida Central Railroad, which makes industrial compatible. To the west is the Water Management District lands, and to the north is unincorporated lands that are either used for industrial activities or zoned for industrial uses. The applicant has also submitted an application for a planned development to accommodate a industrial park type development, but under PD they could also accommodate commercial and office uses. So under PD it allows for a mixed use. City Council then, if you accept the transmittal, will have a second hearing for the future land use amendment, at which time you'll also review the PD zoning application and the master plan. After review last evening by the Planning Commission, it found the proposed request for an industrial future land use for this site to be compatible with the character of the surrounding area and to be consistent with the comprehensive plan. Same recommendation as the Development Review Committee. So the request recommendation by City Council this evening is to accept the first reading of ordinance number 2742 and authorize transmittal to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. One piece of information I left out is in the previous application for the North Shore District, there was also a request for a text amendment to create that North Shore District. That has been withdrawn, and there will be no other hearing on that because there's no need for it with the request for industrial land use. I'll address any questions the council may have.
Any questions for David?
Not as well, a bit of a question. Section 3 on page 199, I just wanted to make sure it highlights here, uses within the PD zoning application will be limited to uses that are not incompatible with the daily use of the Orlando Apopka Airport. Again, the next point, prohibited uses that may interfere with the daily operation. Bottom line is it looks like that it's pretty secure here for the airport's operation, and there won't be anything that they can do that can hinder their operations at the airport, correct?
That will be further addressed at the time of the planned development and master plan application, where through zoning, we can better define the uses that are considered compatible and not compatible. Ultimately, city council will have the opportunity to make that final decision as to what is compatible and not compatible with the airport.
And I commended both sides, really sitting down and trying to work through it, and eventually just decided to go this route. And it's completely bypassed a lot of the major concerns that were there, so I think we're on a good track.
Commissioner Becker?
Yeah, I got a lot of calls, emails on this piece of business when it was coming up before on the previous, how it was previously applied. But to echo Commissioner Bankston's point, I would like to thank the applicant for going this route. I think it's going to be a win all around. This was, just for the sake of people watching this at home, this was where it was going to be predominantly residential as proposed. So I think going the industrial route, having commercial and office is desirable for that piece of property. And it really, and correct me if I'm wrong, the findings from the 2000 study is in line with the direction that we're taking now, is more kind of proliferate, kind of industrial versus residential in that area.
Yes, the industrial is compatible with the character of the surrounding area, correct?
Yep.
Does not impact any existing established residential neighborhoods either.
Commissioner Smith?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, Commissioner Nolan?
I'm happy that they've come up with an agreement too.
Okay, all right. Applicant?
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Dan O'Keefe. I'm a real estate attorney with Schutz & Bowen, 300 South Orange Avenue, Orlando, Florida. David did a great job of explaining sort of the history, and I'm not going to stretch this out. Appreciate you guys still keeping open for business with everything that's going on, and I think it's important that we continue the entitlement process, and when we get through this thing, we've got the economic activity. I will address the question that Commissioner Bankson raised regarding the compatibility with the airport, and we are 100% agreeable with that. We've had numerous discussions. There's one representative from the airport here tonight. We've had, so many community meetings, and the plan has changed and changed and changed, and we're to someplace today that we think is workable. But what we're requesting is that at the same time that we would have the comp plan adoption hearing, we would also have the zoning, the PUD zoning hearing at the same time, and that way the city would know that all those protections are in place because they come in with that PUD, and it says you can't do things that create a bunch of smoke, or you can't do things that are over 50 feet tall, and all those protections to make sure that we're not going to interfere with the use and operation of the airport next door. It has been a long process. It's been difficult. Everybody that we've dealt with, though, has been professional. They have been respectful. It's been a long process, and therefore we are where we are, and we respectfully request that you would approve transmittal to the state so we can come back with both comp plan adoption and zoning, hopefully in early July.
Great. Thank you, Dan.
Thank
Any
you.
questions for Dan? Anything? Okay, awesome. All right, Susan, we've got one.
Do you have one? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Mayor and members of the commission, my name is Ted Brown. I'm an attorney with the firm of Holland & Knight and represent the Rubrights. If you look at your list of names and owners, here you see that they do own a significant portion of the land, which is the subject of this. They asked me to come here this evening, and I was happy to get out and know that you are still open for business. But with that said, I was charged with the responsibility of demonstrating their support for this undertaking, and hope that you will move forward with it promptly. So that's brief, but good to see you.
We'll let them know that without your help, we wouldn't have got this done.
Thank you very much.
Okay, anybody else from the public wish to speak on this matter? Okay, we'll close the public.
And just to recognize, Dave here is a part of the board there, and they really did work together. It was just pleasing to see them go this direction and work some things out there, so I'm excited about the potential.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Look for a motion to approve ordinance number 2742.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Bankson, second by Commissioner Smith. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay. Next up, city council reports. I'm going to start down. Commissioner Nolan, what you got?
I am
for us?
good.
You good? Mr. Bankson?
We're just glad to have you back in this part of the country.
I like being in this part of the country.
The only thing I have, other than I'm just excited to see the Rubright property beginning to move forward. The only thing that I just would like to bring highlight to is, of course, with all of our first responders, our medical field, that, it's just awesome to see the community recognizing them as heroes. And I really like to add to that list teachers, because what they've had to do, obviously their own lives have been disrupted. They've had to recreate a learning environment from home, something they're not familiar with at all themselves. And it's just a tremendous burden, especially if they have children of their own. So, again, there's so many people that we can applaud, and I'd really like to put that highlight on teachers.
Yes, sir. Commissioner Smith?
I ditto what Commissioner Bankton just said in reference to the teachers.
Okay. Mr. Becker?
No, you're going to probably do some highlights on this, on your report. So I see the food aspect is taken care of. Do we have a chance to connect on, because I know that the homeless population, they're being challenged a little bit in terms of places to go to the restroom and things like that. I don't know if we have the ability to make some facilities available to them, because restaurants that they typically go to are, obviously taking all precautions that they're taking. And so I don't know if there's an opportunity for us to kind of strategically place some portalets or something that maybe kind of maintain a little bit of cost, but at the same time go a long way in terms of service.
Okay, yeah. So, Edward?
Commissioner, I think we have to be careful putting those out across the community, only because it can create more than just a restroom facility. I mean, I think the police department struggles with that too, because people can congregate around those areas and be confined to those. But maybe there's something we can look at, maybe one of our restroom facilities, that we currently have at the park, we can, maybe we leave that open.
Something,
a little longer, or leave that
if we-
open through the night, and then, it provides, a facility. I know the county has their facility across the street there, and I don't know, we can check with them to see if they're leaving theirs open 24 hours, and maybe we can work on something like that to help out. But I think, my personal opinion, I just think if you put those facilities around the city, I think you might have more of an issue that we have
limited
to deal
scale,
with.
but even if that's not the right solution, right? It's just maybe, hey, we know that there's maybe a church or so-and-so that might be opening their doors for that type of purpose or service, so.
And we'll reach out. That's a good thing. We'll reach out and see if there's some churches that can do that, or some other places that, that might want to do that, and we'll check with our facilities, and then then we'll let you know.
Yeah,
I'll give
sure.
you some options that work.
Great. And then just wanted to publicly say it because we lost somebody this week that we're all super friends with, and I didn't want to go without saying it. I don't know if Debbie's watching it tonight, but our hearts and prayers are definitely with the Turner family.
Yes.
Tom passed away, lost his battle with cancer this week, and he was just such a dear friend to all of us up here and to the community. I just wanted to reach out. It's such a tough time right now too, when people pass away, and you just don't have that opportunity to kind of get together and really grieve together and show that love and support. So definitely want to say that to Tom and his family.
Yeah, agreed, yes. Okay, Edward, anything else from you?
No, I don't have anything else, Mayor.
Okay, Mr. Byrd, you got some news for us?
It was empty on there. Why are you walking up to the podium?
Sorry.
I said, it's empty on the agenda underneath you. Come on.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, Joe Byrd, City Attorney for the record. In late November of 2018, Mr. Mayor, you privileged me with an interview to serve as Apopka's first full-time in-house attorney. On December 5th, 2018, with about this many people present, as I recall, the City Council entrusted me entrusted to me the duty of serving as Apopka's Chief Legal Officer by unanimously affirming my appointment as the city attorney. And so on January 2nd, I began as part of a team, part of the outstanding team of public services here at the city of Apopka. While I've enjoyed the privilege and the challenges as city attorney and assisting the elected and appointed officials and the staff in their duties, I have determined for personal and family reasons to accept a position with the Tennessee Supreme Court beginning May the 1st, 2020. The chance to be nearer to my family and to our children in Tennessee is very important to my wife and to me. The opportunity to serve you, Mr. Mayor, and City Council, and the leaders and staff of the City of Apopka has truly been an exceptional experience, and I am better for it. I have admired the concern and the commitment of each member of this City Council that you have demonstrated in fulfilling your obligations to the citizens that you represent. You, lady and gentlemen, have my respect and my admiration. I have enjoyed working with our city administrator, Edward Bass, and city clerk, Linda Goff, who is not here today, on a daily basis, and I have developed a great appreciation for their competency and their dedication, as well as their attention to detail and commitment to the compliance with the laws, rules, and regulations of this state. I would be remiss if I did not mention the exceptional work of Christy Funk, who joined with legal last year as our risk specialist. She has been doing that job for some time. Her tenure here in the city and commitment to excellence has made me more effective to my work and serves this city very well. The directors, managers, and employees that I've had the opportunity to work with have always left an impression upon me that they are fulfilling their responsibilities as good stewards of what has been entrusted to them. I cannot adequately express my fondness for so many who have befriended me and allowed me to partner with them in their work and who have allowed me to be part of their lives. Finally, to you, Mr. Mayor, it has been an honor to serve under your administration. Your experience and knowledge serve this community in ways that perhaps the general public will not be able to see or understand. As you have allowed me to stand alongside of you as your legal counsel, in many instances where the heavy burdens of your office pressed in, I can say that I have never found a more committed public servant than you, who truly cares about his city and his desire to faithfully fulfill his duties of his office with principled discipline. The plan that Mr. Bass and I have worked out so far is that my final day in office will be April the 29th, 2020 for my transition, and I have committed myself to the mayor and to Edward that I will assist in the transition any way that I can. I would like to thank you for the opportunity that you have given me to serve you as you have served the citizens of Apopka. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I thought we had a 30-year contract.
Well, I thought we did too, but I understand completely. As I told him when he told me this, the information, I said, Joe, family comes first, and I've always said that. If your family's not happy, then you're not happy. So I understand completely his move here. Well, I will surely miss his.
Aren't we family?
Yeah, I've had a great opportunity to collaborate with you as well as debate with you, and I respect you and wish you all the best and well wishes and time with your family, and you'll always be known as Wakiva.
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm not the only one who gave him a hard time.
Well, I was like to say, Attorney Byrd, I just enjoyed the fact of being able to brag about the city of Apopka having 2 ministers on the council and a minister for our legal attorney. Something that's very unique for our city.
Yes, that is for sure, yes. Well, thank you for your service to Apopka, and the next city attorney is going to have some big shoes to fill, that's for sure. Okay, next up, mayor's report. A couple of things here for you. First off, just want to let you know, Duke Energy, they're doing some herbiciding. This is not as in the tree trimming. This is actually herbiciding under some power lines, I guess, for Homeland Security reasons. Just to let you know, there some along Silver Star up to Orange Avenue in Plymouth. And also, there's another one that comes down from 436 down to Orange Avenue in Plymouth. So anyway, just herbiciding underneath the power lines for keeping those lines clean for hurricane season. So just want to let you know about that. Second up, the Pond Can Road sidewalk update. Hallelujah. The stormwater is in by Orange County's put in the stormwater drain, and curbing is either in today or will be in by tomorrow. So we are finally got that finished. The sidewalk will be repaired, and so I'd like to, shout out to Orange County for getting it done. We appreciate their help and the sidewalk. So we got just one little piece of sidewalk that we'll complete here in the next week or so. So that's good news from that front. Okay, another COVID-19 update. Just wanted to keep everybody informed. We're trying to do a daily update just on things that are changing. We're asking police and fire, and as well as the mayor's office, we're trying to get information out as needed. Citywide measures, just to let you know, we had one police officer that tested positive at the CentraCare for the virus. Good news is his squad has all been tested with the city's antibody test, and all were negative. So even the people that were right around him have turned up negative, so that's a good thing. Well, as we're doing our testing, we've started yesterday, and we've tested 2 firefighters positive for the city's antibody test, not the actual test for the virus. And we're waiting for confirmation from the CentraCare, which we should know in the next 48 hours if they're contagious. Obviously, they're home now waiting those results. All of our city employees, or all of our city first responders, will be tested with the city's antibody test by tomorrow night. So everybody will know what that test, that's the 10-minute test. At that point, anybody that comes back positive will be sent immediately to CentraCare and then go into 14-day quarantine until they're proven safe. We have 9 employees out now that are out for just underlying health conditions, not for any other reasons. They haven't tested positive. Just to let you know that Chief Wylam has purchased 36 no-touch thermometers for all the city departments. So when we get our Parks and Rec back up and running, we want to be able to, to be able to test, coaches and players there. So we have those now, because I think when we see some of the precautions is moving forward to opening up the economy, I think that'll be a big part of that opening. We've eliminated all access to public areas of police, fire, utility building, and public works. Our IT department has the 2 dispatch stations have been moved from dispatch to the EOC to provide for greater social distancing. 6-month extension offered all permits. Police and fire have implemented their emergency protocols. We've continued and had a lot of great responses to our senior chair exercise program on our YouTube channel. We asked that we want to get our own YouTube channel, and we need more people to respond to our YouTube videos, and we'll at some point get our own station. Most our messaging boards, mobile messaging boards, have been stationed, and so to keep them safe at home curfew. We're still helping Apopka residents or Apopka area residents here with their reemployment applications here right behind the glass wall. So we've had probably 20 now that we've helped fill out and got those back to Tallahassee. Got 2 a farm share food giveaway this Saturday at the VFW from 10 until 1, put on by Representative Camilla Brown, Rod Love, and there's another nonprofit will be helping out. On April 30th, the Second Harvest Food Bank will be hosting a food giveaway from 9 until 12 at the former Cooper Sports Complex. Okay, now for some of the community responses. Just as of 2 hours ago, to let you know, we've had in Orange County, 12,756 people have been tested, 1,051 cases.
47 people have tested positive here in Apopka. So there's a little confusion here on the testing. We have the Panera Bread, the Centricare near Panera Bread that is doing testing, but only if you had a doctor's script for that. There is a test site at Mall of Millennia that you can go there if you have the underlying health conditions. You can get tested without a script. So if you got somebody that really needs to get tested and have an underlying health condition, diabetes, obesity, heart conditions, they could go straight to the Mall of Millennia. Otherwise, you're going to need to get a script from your doctor. So it's a little difference between those two sites. Let you know, still countywide curfew from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m. There's another website that you want to, for small businesses, if you want to take a look at, it's the Orlando Economic Partnership. The website is braceorlando.org, B-R-A-C-E, orlando.org. Also, you can call your congressional staff either. I know that Congresswoman Demings has got a pretty good site. Senator Scott have been kept informed by his staff. Got a very good site to take a look at what's out there. All April driver's licenses renewals have been extended. To let you know that OCPS, they're doing their meals there at the schools Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they have already served over 1 million meals. So very, very good work there by OCPS. Commercial truck hours have been waived, so they can go additional hours to try to get our food and prescriptions to the stores. Early refills of medical prescriptions are required, so your providers have to give you earlier refills. Department of Revenue extending sales tax due date. Also, we might, based on a phone or the Orange County Mayor's daily briefing today, he thinks he might be able to give us some direction on Friday. So look for a direction on opening it up, what that might look like, maybe some kind of a time frame. So that's coming here soon enough. Now, for the last, I always like to end on a positive note. So with that, I want to tell you that just got an email from Jenny Andre, who's the one who donated the clips for our hospitals. And just to give you just an update from her, in the last 2 weeks, they have given out 15,000 clips. So what a really neat benefit to our local community. She's given them out to 9 local hospitals and have shipped out to 16 out-of-state hospitals. And had over 100 people come by her house to pick up these clips. She gave me 250 for our firefighters, so as they're out there on the, in the ambulances doing their job, they've got the clip versus having to put their mask behind their ears. So we are excited. And then the last thing on her email, who else can we give them to? So she's out there willing and able to give out clips. So Jenny Andre, we appreciate everything you've done for Apopka and this area. So thank you. Okay, next up, I want to let you know that the Home Depot Foundation has given the city firefighters buckets, the big orange buckets that they have, filled with cleaning supplies and N95 masks for our first responders. So pretty cool that they just donated them to the city of Apopka. And then last but not least, if you look in front of your water bottle, you'll see a little bottle of JLA alcohol antiseptic. They are a group. They started their company in 2015 making unaged whiskey. Well, as we all know, things are a little tight out there, and there's a real market for our gels, disinfectant gels. So they, in the last 4 weeks, have totally turned their company around and are producing gels, or not gels, they're producing antiseptics for the market, private, public market. So in front of you is a bottle. Now,
as you know, that 60% is the minimum alcohol you can have in it.
This is 80.
This is 80. Yeah, you don't drink this. Yeah, there it is. But,
Good
so,
thing it's not flask-shaped.
yeah, so anyway, got to go out and see their operation, so it's a brother-sister operation, and her name is Jeanette, and his is Jose. And so we were just so excited to go out and meet with their, the team. They've even hired a physician. They've got an MD on staff to make sure that these are being produced correctly. So if you got a chance, JLA, they're out in the Cooper Commerce Complex, and they donated 20 bottles to the city of Apopka and want us to, make sure that if we have needs for these antiseptics, they've got them. The only thing, just to be careful, is it's not a gel, and so it's a liquid, not a gel. But so excited that they're now a part of Apopka, and we obviously want them to keep producing this, but at some point we want them to get back to their work as a craft distiller. So with that, thank you everybody for coming.